Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive with us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
So today we're going to be checking out this book, 13 Things Mentally Strong People Don't Do.
By Amy Morin.
Right.
And it's it's a fascinating book, I think, for anybody who wants to kind of build up their resilience and learn how to face challenges head on.
Yeah, it really is.
I think what's so interesting is that Amy Morin, she's not just, some self-help guru. She's actually a psychotherapist.
Oh, wow.
And she's been through a lot of personal tragedy herself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so she lost her mom when she was young, and then a few years later her husband died suddenly, and then she lost her partner too, all within a pretty short span of time.
Oh my gosh.
And so, you think about those experiences, like that would just completely crush a person.
Yeah.
But she actually used those really difficult times to learn about mental strength and to figure out how to build resilience.
So she turned it around and used it to help others.
Exactly. She took her own healing journey and turned it into this practical guide for other people.
That's amazing. Yeah, so in the book, she identifies 13 things that mentally strong people don't do. They're kind of like these common pitfalls that can sabotage our mental strength.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then she offers strategies for how to overcome them.
Cool. So let's dive into those 13 things.
Okay, let's do it. The first one is don't waste time feeling sorry for yourself.
Okay.
And, this doesn't mean that we can't ever feel sad or disappointed or grieve. Those are all normal human emotions.
Right.
But it's about recognizing when we get stuck in that self-pity cycle, when we just kind of wallow in our misery and it starts to hold us back.
Yeah, and that can be really easy to do.
Well, absolutely. And she gives this really powerful example from her own life.
Right.
After her husband died, she was dreading his 27th birthday.
Yeah.
And she thought, like, everyone's just going to be so sad and we're going to be, wallowing in grief.
Yeah.
But her mother-in-law suggested that they celebrate his life instead.
Oh, wow.
And so they, got together, they shared stories, they laughed, they remembered all the good times.
That's so powerful to kind of flip the script on it.
Exactly. And it's a great example of how we can choose to focus on the positive even when we're facing difficult emotions.
And, it's funny because there's actually research that shows that gratitude can have a really powerful impact on our well-being.
Oh, yeah?
It's not just about, feeling good. It can actually boost both our mental and physical health.
That's right. And, it's something that we can all cultivate. It's like a skill that we can develop.
So what are some ways that we can do that?
Well, one simple way is to start a gratitude journal. Just take a few minutes each day to write down things you're grateful for.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be anything big.
Yeah.
It could be like, I'm grateful for my comfy bed, or, I'm grateful for the sunshine today.
Even the little things.
Exactly. And the more we focus on the good in our lives, the more we start to notice it and the more we feel grateful.
That makes sense.
All right. So moving on to point number 2. Mentally strong people don't give away their power.
Ooh, what does that mean?
Well, what she means by that is that we often let other people's opinions or actions dictate how we feel and how we behave.
Right.
But truly mentally strong people, they set boundaries and they take responsibility for their own reactions.
Okay.
And so, like, a really powerful example of this is the story of Stephen McDonald.
Who's that?
He was a New York City police officer who was shot and paralyzed in the line of duty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, you would think that after experiencing something so horrific, he would be filled with bitterness and anger.
Yeah.
But he actually chose to forgive the man who shot him.
Wow.
And he dedicated his life to promoting peace and forgiveness.
Oh, my gosh. What an incredible story.
Isn't it amazing? And so, while most of us will never face circumstances as extreme as that,
Right.
I think we can all relate to those situations where we feel like somebody else has made us feel a certain way.
Yeah, I totally get that. It's like, sometimes you let someone get under your skin and you just let their words or actions ruin your whole day.
Right, exactly. And she talks about this client she had named Lauren, who was constantly stressed out because of her overbearing mother-in-law.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And, the mother-in-law was always criticizing Lauren's parenting and trying to control her family's time.
Ugh, I can see how that would be so frustrating.
It was. And Lauren was allowing her mother-in-law's actions to totally control her emotions. And it was really affecting her happiness.
So what does she do?
Well, Morin helped her to see that she needed to set some boundaries.
Okay.
She needed to start saying no to her mother-in-law's unreasonable demands.
Right.
And she needed to stop taking her criticism so personally.
So she had to stand up for herself.
Exactly. And once she started doing that, she reclaimed her power and she felt a lot more peace in her life.
That's awesome. So it's like, if you're feeling constantly resentful and frustrated because of someone else's behavior, Maybe it's time to check in with yourself and see if you're giving away your power.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about recognizing those patterns and making conscious choices to reclaim control over your own life.
I love that. Okay, so what's number 3 on the list?
Number 3 is don't shy away from change.
Okay.
And, as human beings, we're naturally kind of wired to resist change,
Oh, for sure.
even when it's good for us.
Yeah.
We like our routines. We like what's familiar.
We like that comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, growth requires us to step outside of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And so Morin talks about this client she had named Richard, who was trying to get healthier,
Okay.
but he kept failing because he was trying to change too much too fast.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely been there. Like, I'm going to completely overhaul my diet and start working out every day, and, it's just too much.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. And so, Richard was trying to change his diet, his exercise routine, and his sleep schedule all at the same time.
That sounds exhausting.
It was. And he was setting himself up for failure. And so Morin helped him to break down his goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Oh, okay.
So instead of trying to do everything at once, he focused on one change at a time.
So it's like a more gradual approach.
Exactly. And he had to accept that change often brings up uncomfortable feelings.
Right.
It can be scary, it can be challenging, but that doesn't mean we should avoid it.
Yeah.
It's like building muscle.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to push through some discomfort to get stronger.
You got to feel the burn.
Exactly. And, sometimes change can lead to truly amazing things.
Like what?
Well, she shares the story of Mary Deming, whose mother passed away from breast cancer.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is. And, instead of letting her grief consume her crease, she channeled her energy into creating a nonprofit organization.
Really?
Yeah, it's called Seymour Pink, and they raise money for cancer research, and they support families who are affected by the disease.
Oh, that's amazing.
It is, and it's a powerful example of how embracing change, even in the face of adversity, can lead to something incredibly positive.
So it's like turning that pain into something purposeful.
Exactly, and it's
Yeah.
about recognizing that even in the midst of really difficult times, we have the power to choose how we respond and to create something meaningful from our experiences.
Okay, so that was number 3. Don't shy away from change. What's number 4 on the list?
Number 4 is don't dwell on the past.
Oh, that's a good one.
It can be so tempting to dwell on things, especially when we're dealing with regret or guilt or grief.
Yeah, you get stuck in that what if or if only I had done this,
Exactly. And, those thoughts can just keep us stuck in a cycle of negativity.
right?
And Morin admits that she struggled with this herself after losing her husband.
Yeah.
She wanted to just stay fixated on the past, on the time when he was still alive.
Yeah, I can see how that would happen.
But she realized that she had to move forward in order to create new, happy memories.
And to keep living her life.
Right. And it's not about forgetting the past.
Okay.
It's more about recognizing that we can acknowledge and learn from our past experiences without letting them define us.
So it's like taking the lessons and moving forward.
Exactly. And it's not always about big traumatic events either.
Right.
We can get stuck ruminating on smaller things too.
Yeah, I'm sure we all know someone who's still, reliving their high school glory days.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like they're using the past as a shield to avoid dealing with the present.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's about recognizing that our past experiences, both positive and negative, they've shaped who we are today, but they don't have to dictate who we become.
I love that.
Okay, ready for number 5.
Yeah, hit me.
Mentally strong people don't make the same mistakes over and over again.
Ooh, I think we've all been guilty of that one at some point.
Oh, absolutely. It's so easy to fall into those familiar patterns, even when we know they're not helpful.
Right.
And so Morin gives the example of this mom named Christy who kept yelling at her kids, even though she knew it wasn't an effective way to discipline them.
Yeah, I've been there. I think we've all been there.
Yeah, and it wasn't until she actually developed a plan and practiced self-discipline that she was able to break the cycle.
Oh, so it's not just enough to recognize it. You have to actually have a strategy.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that repeating the same mistakes
Yeah.
just keeps us stuck.
Right.
To grow and move forward, we need to be willing to try new approaches and develop strategies for breaking those unhelpful patterns.
That makes sense.
And this applies to all areas of life.
Yeah.
From our personal relationships to our work habits.
So, if you're trying to break a bad habit, it's not enough to just say, oh, I need to stop doing that. You actually have to come up with a plan.
Exactly. And you have to be willing to experiment with new ways of doing things.
Okay, that's really helpful advice.
And the great example of this is Roland Macy.
Oh, the Macy's guy.
The one and only, yeah. So he had a string of failed businesses.
He did.
He did like multiple failed businesses before he finally found success with Macy's department store.
Oh, wow.
And so each time he failed, he learned from his mistakes, and he applied that knowledge to his next venture.
That's incredible. He didn't give up.
Right. He was persistent, and ultimately that persistence paid off in a big way.
That's amazing.
So it's a good reminder that failure doesn't have to be the end of the story.
Yeah.
It can actually be a turning point if we choose to embrace it as an opportunity to learn and grow.
So it's all about perspective.
Exactly. All right, you ready for number 6?
Yeah, bring it on.
All right, so mentally strong people don't resent other people's success.
Okay.
You know, it's so easy to fall into the comparison trap, especially in today's world with social media, you know?
Yeah, you're constantly bombarded with images of other people's seemingly perfect lives.
Exactly, and that can lead to resentment and unhappiness.
Right.
But mentally strong people, they focus on their own goals, and they celebrate the accomplishments of others.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like someone else's success doesn't diminish your own.
Right, and she tells this great story about Herb Brooks.
Who's that?
He was the coach of the 1980 U.S. Olympic hockey team.
Oh, yeah, the Miracle on Ice.
That's the one. And so get this, he was actually cut from the Olympic team as a player. Yeah. But then years later, he came back as the coach and led the U.S. team to victory over the heavily favored Soviet Union.
Oh, wow. Talk about a comeback story.
And the thing is, he didn't harbor any resentment towards his former teammates.
Oh, he had no bitterness.
Not at all. In fact, he embraced their success, and he even used his own experience to motivate his players.
That's so cool. So it's like, write your own story. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing.
Exactly. And he actually had this great quote. He said, write your own book instead of reading someone else's book about success.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that good?
That's really good.
It's about defining success on your own terms, based on your own values and goals.
Okay, so no comparing ourselves to others.
No resenting, just focus on your own path.
Okay, that's a good one to remember.
All right, so that was number 6, don't resent other people's success. Number 7 is don't give up after the first failure.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is, and, we live in a world where we want everything right now.
Right. Instant gratification.
Exactly, and, we expect quick fixes and overnight success.
Yeah.
But the reality is that real change, whether it's personal growth or achieving a big goal, it takes time and it takes effort.
You gotta put in the work.
You got to put in the work and you got to be patient.
Okay.
And so Morin uses this really inspiring story of Milton Hershey.
Oh, the chocolate guy.
The chocolate king himself. So before he achieved massive success with his chocolate empire, he actually faced a series of setbacks and business failures.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, we're talking like multiple failed businesses.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. And so what's remarkable is that he didn't just keep trying, he didn't just like throw in the towel after the first couple of failures.
Right.
He actually had this incredible drive to give back.
Really?
Yeah. And so he built a whole town for his workers.
Yeah.
He provided them with housing and schools and parks.
Oh, wow, that's incredible.
It is. And he became a major philanthropist. So it wasn't just about financial success for him. It was about making a positive impact on the world.
That's so inspiring.
It is. And so, it's a great reminder that failure doesn't have to be the end of the story.
Right.
It can actually be a turning point if we choose to embrace it as an opportunity to learn and grow.
I love that.
So, next time you're facing a setback, remember Milton Hershey and don't give up on your dreams.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
All right, so moving on to point number 8. And this one might seem a little counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Mentally strong people don't fear alone time.
In our world today where we're like constantly connected,
Right.
always on our phones, always online.
Social media 24/7.
Exactly. It's like we've forgotten the value of just being alone with our thoughts.
Yeah.
And Morin makes a really important distinction between loneliness, which is that feeling of isolation,
Yeah.
and solitude, which is a choice to be alone.
That's a good distinction.
Right. It's like solitude is about intentionally creating space for yourself to recharge, to reflect, to just be.
So it's like a positive thing.
Exactly. And there's actually a growing body of research that shows that solitude is really beneficial for our mental and emotional well-being.
Oh, wow. So it's not just like a woo-woo thing.
No, it's like backed by science.
Wow.
It helps us to reduce stress. It boosts our creativity. It even improves our focus.
Well, I'm sold. Sign me up.
And Morin tells this great story about a client she had named Vanessa,
Oh, okay.
who was a classic overscheduler. Her days were just packed with activities. She was constantly running from one thing to the next.
Oh, I know those types.
And she was always exhausted and overwhelmed.
So she was basically like afraid of having any downtime.
Yeah, she was afraid of being alone with her own thoughts.
Oh, wow.
She felt like she needed to be constantly distracted.
So what did Morin suggest?
Well, she encouraged Vanessa to start scheduling some quiet time into her day,
Okay.
even if it was just for a few minutes.
And did she do it?
She did. And, at first it was really hard for Vanessa. Like, she felt restless and uncomfortable, but she stuck with it. And she gradually started to see the benefits. She started to feel more relaxed, more centered, more in control of her life.
That's amazing.
It is. And, it doesn't have to be some big, elaborate ritual.
Right.
It could be as simple as taking a walk in nature without your phone.
Yeah.
Or just sitting quietly for a few minutes and focusing on your breath.
Or meditating.
Exactly. Even those small moments of solitude can make a big difference in how we feel and how we navigate our day.
I love that.
So, if you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or just disconnected from yourself, I encourage you to try incorporating some solitude into your day.
I think I'm going to try that.
Okay, great.
So that was number 8, don't fear alone time. What's number 9?
Number 9 is don't feel the world owes you anything.
Okay.
And this is about rejecting that sense of entitlement,
Like, I deserve this, I deserve that.
Exactly. And it's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in creating the life we want.
So we're not entitled to anything. We have to work for it.
Right. And, Morin contrasts 2 clients to illustrate this point.
Okay.
One was named Lucas, and he felt entitled to special treatment at work.
Oh, yeah.
He was constantly complaining about not getting the recognition he deserved.
Oh, I've definitely worked with people like that.
Yeah. And the other client was Sarah Robinson, and she dedicated her life to helping others even while battling a terminal illness.
Oh, my gosh.
And so, what's striking is that Sarah, despite facing incredible adversity, chose to focus on making a positive impact on the world.
So she didn't feel sorry for herself.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, she founded an organization to help cancer patients who couldn't afford housing near their treatment centers.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
It is. And, she did all of this while undergoing treatment for a brain tumor herself.
Oh, my God.
So it's like a really powerful reminder that our circumstances don't define us.
Right.
We always have a choice in how we respond to challenges.
So it's like Sarah chose to focus on what she could give rather than on what she felt she was owed.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective can make a world of difference in our own happiness and well-being.
Okay. I love that.
So it's like a choice. We can choose to focus on the negative and feel like the world is against us.
Yeah.
Or we can choose to focus on the positive and take responsibility for our own happiness.
Okay. So don't feel the world owes you anything. Got it.
All right. So on to number 10. Mentally strong people don't expect immediate results.
Oh, that's a tough one.
It is. We live in a culture of instant gratification.
Right. We want everything right now.
Exactly. And we're bombarded with messages that promise quick fixes and overnight success.
Like lose 10 pounds in a week.
Yeah, exactly. But the reality is that the real change, whether it's personal growth or achieving a big goal, it takes time and it takes effort.
Yeah.
It's about playing the long game.
Yeah.
Not seeking instant gratification.
So patience is key.
Patience is key. And, Morin tells the story of Marcy, a client who was frustrated because therapy wasn't magically solving all of her problems overnight.
Oh, I can see how that would be frustrating.
Yeah. She was used to getting things quickly and easily.
Right.
And she had very little patience for the process of change, which can be messy and uncomfortable.
It's not always pretty.
It's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so Morin helped her to see that real growth is a journey, not a destination.
Okay.
It's about those small, incremental steps we take each day that ultimately lead to lasting change.
So it's like you're not going to go from 0 to 100 overnight.
Exactly. It's about consistency and perseverance.
And celebrating those small victories along the way.
Yes, exactly. So, if you're working towards a goal, whether it's breaking a bad habit or improving a relationship or advancing your career, remember that it's okay if you don't see results immediately.
Yeah.
What's important is that you're consistent in your efforts and that you celebrate those milestones along the way.
Okay, I like that.
So don't get discouraged if you're not seeing results right away. Just keep putting in the work and trust the process.
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Oh, yes.
Okay, on to number 11. Mentally strong people don't worry about pleasing everyone.
Oh, that's a good one. I think a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah, so many of us are people pleasers.
We want everyone to like us.
Right. And so we end up saying yes to things we don't want to do, and we overextend ourselves, and we neglect our own needs.
Yeah. I've definitely been there.
And so Morin shares the example of Megan, a client who was a classic people pleaser.
Okay.
She was constantly saying yes to requests from family and friends, even if it meant, sacrificing her own time and energy.
Oh, yeah. I know. Plus types always putting others first.
Exactly. And she was exhausted and resentful.
Yeah.
And so Morin helped her to see that setting boundaries wasn't selfish.
Right.
It was actually an act of self-care.
Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else.
Exactly. And so, setting boundaries allows us to protect our time and our energy so we can show up more fully for ourselves and for the people who truly matter to us.
So it's about being selective with your yeses.
Right. And it's about recognizing that it's okay to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
Even to the people we love.
And sometimes saying no is actually the most loving thing we can do.
Exactly, because it allows us to show up as our best selves.
Okay, so don't worry about pleasing everyone. Just focus on being true to yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for number 12.
Yeah, hit me.
Mentally strong people don't fear taking calculated risks.
Okay.
It's so easy to let fear hold us back from pursuing our dreams or trying new things.
Right. We get stuck in our comfort zones.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But mentally strong people, they're willing to step outside of that comfort zone.
So they're not afraid to fail.
Well, they recognize that there's always a chance of failure.
Right.
But there's also a chance of great success.
So it's like a risk-reward kind of thing.
Yeah. And even if they don't achieve the outcome they were hoping for, they know they'll learn and grow from the experience.
So it's like you either win or you learn.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And so Morin tells a story about Dale, a client who was considering opening his own furniture business.
Okay.
But he was totally paralyzed by fear.
Oh, no.
He had a stable job as a teacher,
Right.
and he was afraid to take the leap.
Yeah, I can see how that would be scary.
It is. And he had experienced some financial setbacks in the past.
Oh,
And so those experiences had made him very risk-averse.
makes sense.
But Morin helped him to see that he could take steps to minimize the risk. Like he could take some business classes.
Yeah.
He could find a mentor. He could start small.
So it's not like just jumping off a cliff blindly.
No, it's about being strategic and calculated.
Okay, so calculated risks.
Calculated risks, all right. And
Yeah.
last but not least, number 13.
All right, bring it home.
Mentally strong people don't expect life to be fair.
Oh, that's a big one.
It is, we all have this idea that life should be fair,
Yeah,
that we should get what we deserve.
right.
But the reality is that life is often unpredictable and unfair.
Sometimes bad things happen to good people.
Exactly. And so mentally strong people, they accept that. They recognize that they can't control everything.
Right.
And they focus on what they can control,
Yeah.
which is their attitude and their actions.
So it's like not letting those external circumstances dictate your inner state.
Exactly. And,
Wow.
Morin emphasizes that this doesn't mean that we should just passively accept unfair treatment.
Okay.
It's about choosing our battles wisely and focusing our energy on what we can influence.
That makes sense.
So, if you're facing a challenging situation, try asking yourself, what can I control in this situation?
Yeah.
What steps can I take to improve my situation?
So it's like taking that proactive approach rather than just being a victim of circumstance.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus from what we can't control to what we can control. And that can make a world of difference in how we navigate those inevitable ups and downs of life.
Wow, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have. Those were some really powerful points
They were.
from Amy Morin
Yeah.
about things that mentally strong people don't do.
So, I think we've all learned a lot.
I think so, too.
But, what does this all mean for us?
Right.
How can we actually use this information to, improve our own lives?
Yeah, it's one thing to kind of read about these things,
Right.
but it's another thing to actually put them into practice.
Yeah, it's like we've been given this mental strength toolkit,
Yeah,
but we have to actually use the tools.
exactly. And, the great thing is that even small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah, I think
No.
sometimes we think, oh, I gotta completely overhaul my life
Right.
to be mentally strong. But it doesn't have to be that way.
It does. It's about those small, consistent efforts that we make over time.
Yeah. It's like building a muscle.
Exactly.
You're not going to get ripped overnight.
Right. You got to do those reps consistently.
Exactly. And it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's not about never experiencing negative emotions or setbacks.
It's about having the tools to deal with those things when they inevitably come up.
Right. It's about being resilient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, as you're thinking about all these different points, is there one that kind of stands out to you?
Like one that you're like, oh, I really need to work on that.
Yeah, or maybe one that you feel like you're already pretty good at.
Yeah, that's good too.
What are your strengths and where are your areas for growth?
Yeah. I think for me, it's that not giving away my power thing.
Oh, yeah.
I tend to let other people's opinions affect me too much.
Yeah. It's easy to do.
It,
But once you start to recognize that pattern,
yeah.
you can start to shift it.
So it's like becoming aware of those things.
Awareness is key,
Hmm.
and then you can start to make different choices.
I love that.
So,
Yeah.
what is it for you? Is there something that you're going to focus on?
I think I'm going to try to incorporate more alone time into my day.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I think I need that.
Yeah, I think a lot of us do.
It's so easy to just get caught up in the busyness of life and forget to just take a break.
Right, and just be present with yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a great goal.
Okay, cool.
So, remember, building mental strength is a journey. It's not a destination.
It's not like you wake up one day and you're like, I'm mentally strong.
Right. It's an ongoing process.
It is.
And it's about those small, consistent efforts we make each day.
Brushing our mental teeth.
I like that.
Got to keep those mental muscles strong.
Keep those mental muscles strong.
All right.
So that's it for our deep dive on mental strength.
We hope you enjoyed it.
We hope you learned some valuable tips and strategies for building your own mental resilience.
Yeah, and remember, you have the power to create a life that is both meaningful and resilient.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.